House hunters, look away now. Property prices have jumped nearly 20% in Sydney and around 17% nationwide in just 12 months.
That's hot.
The housing market at the moment is white hot. People kind of didn't think this would happen, but there has been a pandemic boom in housing.
The median house price just crashed through the $1 million mark in Melbourne, and it's already at an eye-watering $1.4 million in Sydney.
That is nuts.
And in a white-hot market, record low interest rates have acted like a bucket of petrol. So, to save desperate first home buyers from themselves, financial services regulator APRA will require them to prove they can afford an interest rate hike of 3 percentage points.
What APRA's done is essentially pump the brakes on the housing market to see if they still work.
What it will do is prevent people getting overstretched when it comes to their borrowings.
But for some, that could really sting.
It'll actually affect probably around 2 in 10 buyers.
For the average family with 2 kids who are earning 1.5 wages between them, this could reduce their borrowing capacity by a range of between $30,000 or $40,000.
As for investors, yeah, they should be all right.
That could take some of the heat out of the market, but at the same time, they won't be able to compete against investors and against people who have lots more money that this test really won't bother.
Yep, in terms of tackling housing affordability, it's a bit like taking on a raging bushfire with a water pistol. But property's not just an $8 trillion market. For a lot of Aussies, it's a retirement plan as well. So can we really afford to call in the water tanker?
Shane Wright is a much better economist than firefighter, and he joins us now. Shane, is this literally the least that can be done?
It just about is. There's, in terms of trying to balance what's going on in the housing market and what slowing house price growth might do to the broader economy, APRA couldn't do much more than what it's come up with. They're dancing on the top of a pinhead.
But Shane, there are far bigger levers that could be pulled here. What's stopping them?
Fear of causing a major economic issue, like some of the issues that they could have, some of the ideas they could have gone with, restricting how much the banks could lend to investors directly. They could have put some income restrictions around, like the amount of income you earn. APRA did this a few years ago where they really targeted investor lending more broadly, and that actually fed through to a fall off in prices, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne.
Shane, the problem with affordability mostly affects those trying to enter the market. Doesn't this just make it even harder for them?
You're getting into the issue of whether banks are going to have to ration credit, and if you ration credit, then it goes to those who are the best positioned to pay back their loans, and that is not the first home buyer. And like we've seen a big run-up in first home buyers into the market over the last 12 months. They've had the lowest interest rates on record. They've had governments, both federal and states, giving away money. But now, like APRA's like the parent that's come in and said, like, kids, settle down, this is just getting a little bit out of control.
Hey Shane, at the last election, Labor tried to tackle the issue of housing affordability and it did no go well for them. Has it become something that politically it's impossible to fix?
Look, there's crocodile tears from both the Coalition and Labor when it comes to house prices because everyone complains how bad it is, but they know a large proportion of their voters own homes and they're so happy to see house values go up. The average mortgage in New South Wales has gone up $200,000 in the last 12 months. In Victoria, it's gone up by $150,000. The major parties are part of this Ponzi scheme that is the Australian real estate market and the way it supports the economy. So, yep, they talk about it, they tinker with it. Even some of the policies that they put in place actually make it worse. And somewhere along the line, there is going to be a reckoning when everyone under the age of 40 gets a pitchfork and says, come on, we're going to light this whole place up.
All right, it's really sobering, isn't it, Shane? Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Oh, glad to cheer you guys up and all your viewers and all the viewers out there.
With so much content online, it's sometimes hard to keep up with it all. And let's face it, who has the time? The Project YouTube has you covered with the stories that matter. Hit subscribe for a daily list of the news that you need to know.